not so long ago, camera was just a camera, scanning or recording everything it sees, and yeah, that was it. Today it changed a lot. It's not the story is a little bit different. Cameras can not only basically record video, but it's basically smart computer with lens, and it can do basically everything you are used to do with your mobile phones. So it can analyze, it can recognize, it can track, it can even predict. With that powerful device everywhere around us, there are new questions, and it's this this innovation, isn't it? Dangerous, isn't it? Like taking our privacy. So how to balance the innovation with privacy and regulation? That's the topic we'll discuss today. Once again, welcome Tertius Wolfart from Middle East Office of Axis Communications. Experienced guy with both, let's say, technology side and also the regulatory, because Tertius was working basically working with ADP partners like our company many years, but now is fulfilling the A&E manager role, so working with consultants, all the regulations basically, and how to adapt to it, how to be able to propose solutions which are compliant and also fulfilling, let's say, the technological tasks. Dalibor, pretty similar background, very long in Axis, but in different regions, Central Eastern Europe, in Prague office, and also started as an ADP manager, then switched different other roles, but today very close to end customers. And also very busy and involved in discussions around NIS2 or NIS2 and everything else which is coming to question right now. So guys, welcome, and let's dive right in. I'm hearing very often that the technology evolves so fast, it's moving so fast, that basically the regulation is, many years behind. It's very hard to catch up. Is that actually the case in our business, in security, in surveillance? Do you see regulation is more like a brake for innovation? Or is it sometimes even bringing some, can it accelerate basically the innovation in our work? Dalibor, you can start.
Thank you, Jan. I want to say Honza. Thank you, Jan. First of all, thank you for inviting me and Tertius here. Hopefully, we will be able to contribute with something valuable to the discussion. I was listening to the first session. It was valuable for me, so hopefully for the other as well. So the question is it a brake or catalyst, right? The regulation.
Exactly.
So basically, short answer would be it's kind of both. From my perspective, regulations in the short term, I think we should distinguish between short term and long term. In the short term, usually slows down innovation. This is probably clear. It means more paperwork, higher costs for development, more time before technology comes to the market, and other things. But if we look at it from the long perspective, regulations very often works like a catalyst. It gives clear rules, unifies the market, and what is the most important, probably, it builds the trust in society for the technology, that the technology is safe and meaningful for them. I was thinking about that, maybe I'm using a car industry as a kind of illustration. Maybe, Jan, you know me already, I'm using cars for everything because this is a good illustration. So best example is a car industry. If there were no traffic rules and no safety certifications for cars, people would still see cars probably as too dangerous. Every year, much more people would die or be seriously injured in this case. Only regulations pushed the car makers to introduce safety elements step by step, during, I don't know, I think it's roughly 100 years that cars exist, right? First safety belts, later things like crumple zones, airbags, and modern assist and adaptive cruise control, and these other things like passive security stuff. Thanks to that, cars now I think only because of that things, cars are still become normal and trusted part of our life, even if they are now heavily regulated. We would probably all agree that car industry is really heavy regulated. So I think this is the similar thing with technology. And yes, in the short term, GDPR or new AI regulation make things slower and more complicated, but in the long run, they will clean the market from irresponsible solutions. They will support quality manufacturers. And again, most important, they will give people trust in the technology we produce and they use. So this is actually my short answer to your, long answer to your short question.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Tertius, from your point of view, and especially if you can maybe point out things which might look different in your region.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jan. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. From my side, the Middle East is a beast of a different challenge and a different color, to be honest. As a lot of you might know, working in the Middle East, it's probably one of the most regulated parts of the world from a compliance perspective. But you also have to take into consideration that the Middle East has a lot of challenges in regards to the amount of countries, for instance, around us. So if we typically look at it from, say, a license plate recognition as an example, typically, if you are in Dubai, the amount of countries and different number plates that you can find at any point in time in Dubai is and we've actually did a bit of a study on that, could exceed more than 100 different number plates at any point in time. Now, if you don't have any regulatory compliance, if you don't have any rules, any way of actually, say, sort of testing and evaluating this, then how can you actually ensure accuracy of systems? How do you look at things like border control? How do you look at tolling? How do you look at all these different areas of that aspect? So I do fully agree with what Dalibor say from short-term and long-term perspective. The other thing which you also have to remember in the Middle East is that the climate is something that people don't always sort of underestimate quite a lot. Now, if any of you guys have ever been to the Middle East, especially this time of the year, there is a challenge in some of the coastal cities where people think Dubai, as an example, gets very hot, but Dubai also gets very humid, which is a very unique challenge. And those bring a lot of challenges from technology, from a performance, from a heat management, from a quality perspective. So if you don't have those checks and balances in place, when it's winter months, everything works very nicely because it's nice and cool, doesn't get that challenging. When summer comes, then the real challenge comes, and when then technology needs to really work. And you don't only see it with security devices, you see it with cars, you see it with everything around you. And I would say regulation is a good thing, definitely mandating what we can and what we can't do. But from a design perspective, sometimes it can definitely be a limitation factor. And why am I saying that is because if we look at our industry where we are today and just the adoption of AI in the last, say, 2 to 3 years, that has exponentially increased quite a lot. If we look at our processing capabilities on a camera, if you look at what a camera could do 5 years ago versus what a camera can do today, that's a massive jump. And sometimes we feel, and I feel this way, sometimes we feel that sometimes we need to embrace technology like AI a little bit quicker, like the commercial industry or like the mobile industry or these areas where we really see a massive difference on what it actually does on a day-to-day basis. So, but again, it's something that is very difficult because we have, unfortunately, there's not a one-size-fits-all type of solution in our industry. So, and because our technology is used in such a variety of different environments, so just as an example, if I use an airport versus a shopping center, the same technology can be used in both environments, but both environments has vastly different security and regulatory requirements and compliances. So that's why sometimes the challenge is what works in what environment. It's not yes, go, everything works, because it's not that simple. So, and it's due to complexity, which also brings a lot of challenges. So, long answer, but it is a challenge. It is definitely that something that is a challenge, and that's why we, as an industry, I feel need to be very close to people writing these regulations. We need to get close to governments to educate them on what is the new technologies, what is happening around us, and what are the benefits of those technologies for them as a user and as a city, as an example.
Yeah, thanks guys for your answers, Tertius, especially for pointing out the climate aspect, which, like when I just for the first time stepped out of the plane in the Middle East, I was like, I'm dying in 10 minutes. So I can imagine and the effect or the influence it can have on technology. That's massive. And also, like from our point of view, I think I see, when they basically, when some regulations restrict something, definitely we have to look for new ways how to solve the problem for the customers. So it's definitely also driving innovations, even like, from this simple point of view we might have as a developing company. So thanks. Let's move to a second question. How are current privacy regulations, that's more like the European GDPR, how are they shaping the development and deployment of AI-based systems, and especially ALPR? Because still for us it was quite a new experience, or quite a surprising thing that the license plate is a basically we should look at it as a private data. So how, again, how are these current privacy regulations shaping the development and deployment of AI-based ALPR systems? What do you see? Algor.
Okay. Hard to say, but I think if I look at this topic, so how regulations are shaping ALPR systems from technological perspective. So I think that we might maybe look first at edge-based technology. So basically we can say that GDPR, or privacy protection, pushes us, or users, and also us as manufacturers, pushes us to process data directly on the camera. This means less data is sent over the network, lower risk of leaks, and privacy by design, basically. So this is maybe most significant way how regulations are shaping our technology. Or, of course, there are also some other technological advantages like less complexity, bandwidth saving, speed, and reliability. But privacy regulations really accelerated that move as well, I guess. Second, maybe might be that regulation means we as manufacturers must be more flexible. What I mean, for example, one camera that checks long-term parking needs different retention rules than the camera that looks for stolen cars in real time somewhere on a highway. The same platform, but the different setting. So the regulation forces this, let's call it modularity. So we have to be modular, and not only, but also due to regulations, because this is a requirement. And maybe the third might be that GDPR, let's take GDPR as a typical regulations, and maybe also AI Act as a new regulation, which are very connected because both are aiming to privacy protection, bring big focus on transparency and logging. So we need to show what happened with the data. We need to explain we need to explain every AI decision. It's a task of AI Act actually, or regulation of AI Act. To be concrete with FF Group Data Factory, we can say what was the confidence score, which features were used, and where, when, and where it was proceed. So these are regulations, or these are requirements that are shaping functionality of our hardware and software. Yeah.
Thanks for that. If I just, like, when we were saying the first part, like, we were pushing edge recognition because, like, we were able to do that because we thought it's cheaper and more effective, and you work with the raw image, so you have basically better quality to analyze than to work with some stream, which is always basically worse quality than the original raw image. But cybersecurity now comes to the play, and it was like a gift for us, basically. Yeah. We were not doing it because of that at the beginning, but now it comes together. Tertius, your view, or what you would add?
I'm definitely not an expert on GDPR, to be honest. But what I can add from my side is that something simple like doing SD card encryption sounds like something small, but that's actually not an industry standard. Not everybody's actually doing it. So if for some reason you can get that camera, remove that SD card or that storage, you can actually access all the footage. So that sounds like something simple, but that's actually something vital. And for us, yes, we do see GDPR in the Middle East, but we are starting to see a lot of customers looking at privacy from, for instance, if you look at Access Live Privacy Shield running directly on a camera, we can say, keep the number plate and blur the vehicle, as an example. And those are things which starting to become very important for customers, especially when you start working with VIPs and high value visitors to specific, say, hotels in these areas. So yes, they might want to look at the number plate to recognize it's a VIP, but they don't want to expose the type of vehicle that this guy was driving and where he was actually going, as an example. So that's the one side. The other side is the cybersecurity element of the edge device itself is becoming very, very important, where we have a lot of end customers doing penetration testing and validating that device before it gets even placed on a network. So it's all about these smaller pieces filling in, the sort of getting in together. The edge device itself is becoming very important to analyze the data. Like you said earlier, Jan, analyzing the data before it reaches and working with that raw data gives you so much more valuable information, and just maximizing what you're actually getting today. So that's definitely where we're starting to see from say, a privacy perspective. And also different verticals and different sort of end customers have much different requirements from a privacy perspective. So if you come to the Middle East, you'll see there's a lot of shopping centers. And for instance, what we start to see now is parking automation when you go into a shopping center, where literally you drive in and the same system that does the tolling on your vehicle actually manages your parking in the shopping center. So there's no more pressing a gate or pressing a ticket to get a ticket to go into the shopping center. You literally drive in. There's a camera reading your number plate, which is the same camera which is reading your number plate from the parking system and the tolling system in the whole city. When you leave the shopping center, it actually picks up your number plate and it automatically says, this is how much you have to pay for parking coming into the shopping center. So you have these different elements where on the one side, it's used as a commodity to understand who actually came and go. On the other side, it's used from a privacy perspective to sort of protect the high value or high profile visitors coming to specific areas. So it is definitely a very interesting area, and it's definitely evolving very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Let's also, I kind of feel, and maybe our people who are listening to us, maybe also they may miss some information. I'm just curious, Tertius, is there anything, I mean, any specific Middle East regulation which we don't know in Europe? It's like, you know, something which every installer or manufacturer has to know in Middle East, and it's totally different from Europe.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you, depending on the city you work with, so typically in Dubai, there's a regulation for Dubai. In Abu Dhabi, there's a regulation for Abu Dhabi, and this not only focuses on the license plate recognition side of it, but it focuses on the whole building, and it goes into quite a lot of detail saying, if you install a camera here, this is the purpose, this is what it should be able to do. If you install a license plate recognition camera, this is the regulatory requirements for you to be able to use this device. And again, from a Middle East perspective, you could be in the UAE and you could have 3 or 4 different regulations based on where you are in the UAE. If you go to some of the neighboring countries like Saudi Arabia, there's a different regulation. If you go to Qatar, then there's a different regulation. So it all depends on where you are and what is that specific requirement. But it is very important to follow these legislations and requirements, because if you've designed a system and it reaches the Middle East, you can very quickly get a non-compliant, which means you need to redesign the whole system. And the importance of highlighting that is your trade license as a business in a lot of Middle East countries is linked with your security system. So if your security system is not compliant by law, you don't open your business because you don't get a trade license. So you can literally have a shop 100% ready to open. If you don't have a trade license, then you don't open in your shop. That's as simple as it is. So I would encourage people to reach out to the Access team if you don't know us, or reach out to myself or some of the team. Get in touch, make sure that you know what is applicable to which part of which country, because it can really save you a lot of pain and effort in the long term.
Yeah. So even Emirate can have different requests, and like it's even complicated to mention all of them. That's different. Dalibor, what about Europe? Besides GDPR, is there something which is, let's say, only Europe specific requirement, and or even again, it can be also different for other countries? I somehow remember the market in Italy is, when it comes to ALPR, is very much regulated, and there are many certifications needed. But is there anything, not only ALPR, just let's say video surveillance? Is there anything Europe specific you could mention?
Since I'm living in Europe, and Europe is heavily regulated, especially in the last couple of years, I'm happy just to at least follow the European regulations. So it's hard for me to compare what is EU only, but I can guess at least something. There is one thing that could be more specific for Europe, and maybe this is also a question to Tertius, and it's an effort to harmonize transport data collection and sharing. I will explain in the detail a little bit. The EU is building so-called national access points, NAPs, and they're trying to create common standards like NetEx and Siri. NetEx is a standard for static data from traffic and transportation, and Siri is for real-time data. So that traffic and mobility data from both can be exchanged in the same way across all member states of European Union. These systems already exist and are in operation, and their use is still expanding across the whole EU member states. The idea is that if you drive with your car across the borders, or if you use public transport in another country, the data should be available in a similar structure everywhere, basically. So this is kind of regulations, which is quite new. It's already somewhere installed and implemented, but not everywhere. This is not about the technical standards. It's also connected with regulations as well. So I don't know if it is EU only. So maybe Is it anything similar in the Middle East and Africa?
We have started to see this in the Middle East in some countries. As an example, if you drive, for instance, between the UAE and Saudi, then at some of the border crossings, they are actually able to, before you leave the country, and even if you come with a foreign number plate, they can tell you that these are the speeding fines, as an example, that you've incurred while driving in the UAE on the way to Saudi. So in the past, a lot of cities and a lot of countries used to be independent. So if you got a speeding fine or a parking fine or whatever, then by the time you go to your home country, you would have never received it because these two systems are so independent. So again, as I mentioned in the beginning, there's quite a lot of visitors to the UAE, and a lot of people drive to the UAE from neighboring countries. So there is a big push to share more data between different systems and to unify systems, specifically, I would say, for parking and traffic violations. Not to my knowledge is it extended much further than this yet, but definitely there is a big drive to unify data across multiple countries and to do much more with that data.
Mm-hmm. So it seems that also this regulation might shape technology, especially from FF Group and us as a joint solution, because we are part of the traffic and transportation system. So maybe this could be good to look at it as well. And beside that, you asked, Jan, some other things. So of course, so naturally, already mentioned cybersecurity regulations. It's a quite strong topic now. NIS2 directive, this is how is it called. This is already being transposed into national laws. In my country, in Czech Republic, it becomes effective from 1st of November this year, so quite soon. It means much more stronger requirements for cities and transport operations as well to fix vulnerabilities, improve their IT systems, and prepare for cyber attacks. So this is a quite strong regulations which is affecting our business strongly, because as Jan said at the beginning, our cameras are basically computers today, especially with the smart software inside. So they deserve protection. It's a little bit funny with these cameras, because they are first subject to be protected from the cybersecurity perspective, but they are at the same time tool for protection the other assets. So they are standing on the both sides of the barricade, basically, these technologies. So this is cybersecurity, and the second is something which is maybe only partially touching our topic today, but it's very strong regulations called critical entity resilience, abbreviation CER. You can say that, just to explain what it means, it's like NIS2, but for physical security and resilience of the critical infrastructure. NIS2 clearly touches the transport systems, while CER is a bit less direct, but it still matters for many of our customers in critical infrastructure who also uses ALPR technologies, because traffic systems will be part, or in some countries already are part of critical infrastructure. So CER and NIS2, physical security and cybersecurity, are very strong regulations, and we are affected as well.
Thanks, and I think you both have proven we choose the right ones to invite today for the discussion. Thanks a lot, and thanks also for your openness. There's just like you have proposed, people can contact you if they have questions. I suppose Dalibor also is very open to consult partners to this. Already doing that, I know. Meanwhile, we have one short question. So very fast answer. Dominic Morel is asking: is it permitted to use number plates to estimate parking time in a car park? So, like, very fast answer. Unprepared. If I understand correctly, most car parks are private property. So usually, all the cameras there, all the technology there, if there is information, it can it is monitored and these data are collected, it's basically all okay from the point of view of GDPR. And my personal opinion is also like, if there is no connection between the person and the license plate, it's also disputable if it's, this private data or data which should be protected. Very often it's complicated to explain to some people, but like my personal opinion is, if you don't have access to some police database and you are not able to see who bought this car, who is the owner, should be basically totally okay, and I don't see any issues with data privacy here. However, I understand some legal specialists may have may have different opinion. As said, it's my personal. Okay, let's go further. We have a couple of last minutes, so I would go a little bit to the future. So guys, where if you had a magic wand, you can change one regulation tomorrow to make your job easier. You can basically cancel it, you can extend it, you can change it. What would it be, and why? I have also my candidate, but you go first.
Purchase.
Yeah, wow, that's a good question. Only one.
You can mention more.
No, I'll just probably, and this is probably very predictable, but probably in my world in the future, I think it would be very nice to have a more flexible license plate recognition regulation in the Middle East. There is a few things which is a bit legacy, which is giving a lot of people a lot of hard times, especially in regards to things like IR and lighting. And one of the challenges that I've personally seen with many regulations is technology in regards to things like light sensitivity is definitely not taken into consideration. And when a regulation is typically written, it is based on technology that might have been 10 years old, as an example. So if we look at how sensor technology has evolved in 10 years, today we need almost no light and we can get extremely good results. And so in my world, I would say if we can have a bit more flexibility on adding a sort of a practical element and sort of a testing element and proving that your solution doesn't necessarily need an external light or a light source, then I would say that for me would be a game changer in our industry, because it doesn't matter if you use a camera that has a very small sensor or a very large sensor, the same rules of engagement apply for everybody. And then that's sometimes not necessarily, in my opinion, the right thing. But I know changing regulations and laws is not something that you change overnight. So we all know that. So I would say that would be my answer. And I know for us, the amount of time we've spent on just getting a compliance to some of these regulations has been a big headache. But yeah, that would be my answer. Dalibor?
I would stay on a philosophical level with this question. And I would say one keyword, and this is integration and connection. I will explain that in 3 concrete, kind of more technical levels. First, cross-border data sharing. We already a little bit touched it in the previous question. I touched it a little bit. So I know we in Europe, we are already building something we call European Mobility Data Space. It's still in the beginning. The idea is that mobility data, including ALPR, will be shared between countries, not raw images, of course, but proceed information like this car is reported stolen in Czech Republic. Each country keeps today, unfortunately, their own infrastructure, and it's with owner retention rules and everything technically divided. So it would be great. And the idea of this European mobility data space is that systems will be connected through common standards and APIs, basically. It's not easy because every country has a different rules today. I know it from the personal perspective because I'm working with several big cities in Czech Republic, for instance, Prague, the capital, and they have a huge problem with collecting traffic data only in one city. So even the city-owned company spent several years to collect data from probably 10 different sources, all public. So theoretically it should be easy, but practically it was a nightmare. So we are talking about one city. So I'm now expanding to whole Europe, basically. So it's even more complex problem. So this is first how I would, what I would wish with the magic wand to speed up. Second, maybe something I'm going more to the future, like behavioral pattern recognition. So not only reading the data, but proceeding the data and trying to kind of predict patterns of behaving of the cars in traffic. And third, something which already exists but still is somewhere hidden: vehicle-to-vehicle communication and vehicle-to-X communication. Integrating all these things together, and all these three things I named are partially connected. So I would speed up this thing which are representing integrity and communication and integration of data from traffic.
Clifton, you have some wishes, some, let's say, what could make our job easier if we change some regulation?
Have you got your magic wand here? No, I don't have anything. I think from that perspective, Tash, obviously, I wholeheartedly agree with you. And Dalibor, I think really key is educating the authorities on this technology that's consistently changing, right? Because there are massive advantages and disadvantages for them that they could take advantage of, would probably save them massive costs. You're talking about lighting. It goes back to, energy efficiency, et cetera, et cetera. So all of these new technologies could be saving so much more money if they were more adaptable and I would say, and would adopt it earlier. So very good points. And once again, down to education, Dalibor.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
I fully agree with you, Clifton. Working in silos is the problem in the public organizations. We need to teach them. The problem is that, and the issue is that they are they are standing in their old position. They don't want to share data, basically, because they're afraid of losing the importance and budgets and everything. I think we all agree. By the way, just interesting fun fact, I am studying a doctor study in security. My topic is using AI in improving security in the cities. It's not very much connected with traffic, partially yes. And one of the sub-question of my future dissertation, defeating dissertation work is, one chapter is, what are the aspects that are breaking down the implementation of modern AI-based technology in the public sector, basically. So exactly this is what I'm trying to elaborate there. And the result is that, of course, it's a long way. And then it will be changed, and there is a lot of work from our side, producers of the modern technology, to teach the market, but it will take time. But I fully agree.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, guys, we are coming to an end. Many thanks for your participation and your insights. I just wanted to summarize a little bit, but I see definitely regulation is sometimes helping, sometimes a little bit slowing down, but I would say most of the things which are happening in both regions we have mentioned just makes sense. They make us more responsible. They push us forward, finding new ways how to develop, how to make our products better, and at the end of the day, they are making our customers basically more safe, or keeping them more safe, which is, like, it's a security industry, so it should be about safety and security. Thanks a lot. We are soon continuing with the third session. Thanks again for coming.
Thank you so much.